adjust this. Hello and welcome, there's my camera, to a conversation, there's my camera, with Joseph P. Fraioli. Tonight's topic, we're going to talk about cable television in our communities. Now, my name is Michael Witsch. I teach at Mamaroneck High School. I teach video production. And I've been part of the cable television in our communities for, I guess, since about 78 or so, when the village of Mamaroneck started to look into the possibility of inviting cable company in here. And Joe Fraioli, who is my guest tonight, is not too far behind me. You've been involved since
1981.
So you've got 15 years in the history of cable television in Mamaroneck and Larchmont.
Good thing you don't teach math, Mike. It's 16 years.
That's what I said.
Remember,
16
subtract
years.
81 from 87 and add 1.
I can tell already this is going to be an interesting conversation. Joe, your capacity as the cable TV administrator for our municipalities, can you give us a thumbnail sketch of what that job entailed? I mean, that's a job you had until just last year.
That's right.
When the current village manager in Mamaroneck Village took over that position.
Yeah, effective January of 97.
Okay.
He took effect. Well, short history, Mike, you probably, you were involved prior to the franchise agreement. You were involved with the
negotiation.
With the negotiation and everything else. I was named the village manager in the village of Mamaroneck as the administrator for the Cable TV Board of Control, and the treasurer for the town, village of Larchmont is the treasurer for the Board of Control.
And those appointments were made just after the original franchise with a company that was then called UA Columbia. Now it's TCI Cable.
Correct.
And that was made in 1980? Those
No,
appointments?
that was done in 1981. That was all part of the tri-municipal cable sharing agreement, cable TV sharing agreement.
Okay.
What that is that it's made up of one elected official from each of the three communities, Town of Mamaroneck, Village of Larchmont, and Village of Mamaroneck. And as part of that, there's an administrator, which in the case here where they decided that it would be the village manager, Village of Mamaroneck, and the treasurer of the Village of Larchmont. My participation or involvement was to take care of the day-to-day stuff, whatever there was. Any paper to disseminate it to the respective Board of Control members. Just a little history. Also, we have an advisory committee, which is made up of 6 members.
Right, and I've been on that advisory committee.
You've been on that
long
for a
time.
long time. You're
Yes.
correct, right.
Right.
You and Mary Ann Sullivan. Mary Ann, I think, is off now. She decided not to continue.
Yes, and Frank Light is a longtime member as well.
Frank Light, Frank. Well, you all three were involved with the initial franchise agreement.
We were pioneers, Joe,
You were the
along with you.
pioneers.
Yes.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, as I said to you before we started this show tonight, is that my predecessor, Armin Janunzio, was involved with the initial franchise agreement. And he signed that agreement December 30th, 1980.
Yes.
And at that point, he had retired, and I became village manager in 1981, and I assumed that responsibility.
So you had this big document on your desk that said cable television franchise. Did you know what you were in for?
No, not really.
Do you
No.
regret a day of it?
Well, not really, because I tell you, Mike, I've had some good people to work with. People that go back in history. Mary Ann has always been very, very helpful. I mean, it was all also new to her. She probably knew more than me, but it was all also new to her because, then the advent of LMC-TV, the involvement with the school and all that, and with the people, with the Board of Control, it certainly was very, very interesting.
Well, you've touched on a lot of bases. I mean, the Board of Control, the LMC, even TCI's assuming UA Columbia.
That's right.
Caused you to do a lot of work, as it did the advisory committee and the municipalities. But for people who don't know, a cable television company can't just come into a community and string wire up on poles and knock on your door and say, hey, we're offering service at X amount of dollars.
That's correct.
So your job was the enforcement officer. They had to have a franchise, and that was the document that you found on your desk in
That's
1981.
right. I was the overseer of that document.
Mhm.
Any problems, they came to my office, and the Board of Control was made aware of whatever the problems
Now,
were.
was it unique that our three municipalities decided to have the same franchise with the same company for the same amount of time, as opposed to going separately?
It served the community better. You would probably know the answer to that. I would assume the thought behind that is that it would better the three communities to go as a group. It's more advantageous. I think there are a couple other areas that do that. Pelham Manor.
I'm not.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they
I
have,
think maybe Pelham and Pelham
maybe
Manor.
one other,
Mhm.
but ours is unique because as a result of what we have here, we were able to fund LMC-TV, a not-for-profit group. As you were well aware of, the funds for that do not revert back to the three communities. The funds go into a separate fund, which is taken care of by the treasurer for the Border Control, which is Carmine DeLuca.
Okay, hold on one second now. Again, a little bit of clarification of the history. The Board of Control was created by the three municipalities
Correct.
to manage the franchise fund, the franchise fees that the cable company pays
Well,
in.
manage the franchise itself.
Okay,
As part of that, also in the tri-municipal cable TV sharing agreement, they also manage the funds, the monies, the fees, the franchise fee that's received from the cable company.
so each of the municipal governments, the Village of Larchmont, the Village of Mamaroneck, and the Town of Mamaroneck, they each have a representative on this Board of Control.
Correct.
And then there is an administrator and a treasurer.
That's right.
Okay, and you were the first administrator,
That's correct.
and Carmine was the first and still is the
Still
treasurer.
is the first treasurer, correct.
And the new administrator is Michael Blau.
Michael Blau,
Who is the
correct.
Village of Mamaroneck
Right. Village manager.
village manager for the Village of Mamaroneck.
Well, see,
Okay.
what you have here, you have the same thing, a village manager and a village board.
Mhm.
The village board, takes care of policy and all that, and the manager carries it out. So here we have basically the same thing. We have a franchise agreement, which the Board of Control oversees, but the administrator is the one that handles all the problems, tries to take care of them.
Problems?
Well, at the
Problems, Joe?
at the beginning, when they first started to string the cable, there were a lot of questions, et cetera. Going through my house, get the wires are showing.
And you got all those calls?
Correct. Yeah.
And then
But,
what did you do when you got the calls?
Well, I would contact UA Columbia, which Ira Birnbaum, and there was
he was the general
always-
manager at the time?
He was a general manager, and he was always very, very cooperative. Very cooperative.
And then Ira would get back to you about the remedy of the problem, and then
That's
you'd
correct.
have to respond back to the
That's right.
local resident.
The whole.
That sounds like it could keep you busy all week, full-time.
Yeah, at the beginning it was, but we got through it.
Yeah.
We got through it.
And you also had help from some of the village people, Joyce, your
Oh, yeah,
secretary?
Joyce, who was the secretary in the manager's office, she was very, very helpful, yes. That was very, very important, because the complaints were there, she'd handle whatever she could, but whatever she couldn't, then I would take care of.
Yeah. Among the advisors, and there have been many people who've been appointed to the advisory committee, I think a common feeling about you in particular is that you were sort of the rock for the whole cable deal. I mean, we always knew that you were going to be there, and I'll speak personally now. We always knew that you were going to be there if there ever needed to be a memo found or the minutes produced. We knew that a call to you or Joyce would quickly result in having a copy of that stuff.
That's correct.
So you must have had one heck of a file room over there loaded with
Well,
materials.
Mike, I want to tell you, the last couple of years now, prior to the entering into the new franchise agreement, being I'm not involved with the village anymore, I was still the administrator. I've got tons of boxes at home, and I want to tell you, my wife keeps asking me what I'm going to do with them.
What are you going to do with it?
No room.
Do you have them in the car right now? You're going to bring them in here?
No, these are copies.
Uh-huh.
They have them at Village Hall. This is
Right.
I always kept copies, and
Okay.
my routine was always keep more than one copy. Complaint from my wife is that I'm also a Rotarian. I'm the bulletin editor. I do the treasurer's books. I'm the secretary. So I got another cabinet for that, and I also volunteer for Yes. That doesn't take up too much. I have an old cabinet for them. I've been involved with them since 1978, I think it was. So, you know, she's right. She created a little office for me, but it's not big enough.
Well, maybe those files can be passed on now to another entity, another organization.
Those
cable
maybe?
files.
Well, these are other copies. I mean, you know, they could be thrown away. You know, there'd be no need for
Right.
me to have them. I'll keep it for a while.
It's interesting, when Frank Light and I were comparing notes about you, Frank said, you know, one thing about Joe is he always managed, whenever we had a meeting, he always knew the rules of order. He always knew, for instance, that, well, wait a minute, we don't want to discuss this. It's improper to discuss this in a public session because it's a negotiating point. Therefore, he said, Joe always knew how to get us into executive session. And so Frank wondered, did you actually have a hand in writing Robert's Rules of Order?
No, they had an ulterior motive there, and Gloria will probably get a kick out of this, is that
For those watching, Gloria's behind camera 3 right now.
We didn't, a lot of times we didn't have a secretary.
Right.
So the thing is, if it was outside, I'd have to take voluminous minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But the rules of order were correct. You know, we didn't want to put that in the minutes, so we went to the executive session. So, you know, you saw how big my minutes were.
Yes. Yes, and maybe the historian should go back over your minutes so they can recreate a whole history of cable television. What was a highlight of the 16 years of your being the cable TV administrator?
Well, I guess there were a couple of highlights. 1986, when we had the amended agreement, was extended for 3 additional years. Remember, the original franchise would expire on December 31st, 1990, and we extended
Right, it was a 10-year deal.
It was a 10-year deal. We extended additional 3 years, and my recollection was we got $50,000 for equipment, et cetera.
And that actually, not only did it provide some cameras, which we're still using in this studio,
correct.
but it also made possible the opening of Studio 2 at the Mamaroneck Library Emmelin complex.
Right. The other highlight, I guess the last few years, Mike, on the renegotiations, the negotiating committee, you were part of the negotiating committee, Frank Light, Mary Ann, and several other people.
Yeah, there were at least 10 people on that
I know.
committee.
Don't hold me to the names. I can't remember them all.
We know that you know us.
Right. The thing is that you people started in 1981, early part of 81, to create a draft franchise agreement. I would say you worked on that about a year and a half, 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, before we presented to the cable company. That took a lot of time and effort. After that was presented to the cable company, then you people sat down, the committee sat down and negotiated with the cable company. And that was very time consuming. Then you got to a point, refresh my memory, was it December 1995 when you people thought we had an agreement?
Yes.
Okay? And that information disseminated to the Board of Control, and then there was feeling along the board that maybe we could do a little better, et cetera, and then they got involved, and we arrived at a package that I think serves the community well.
And that was just approved literally weeks ago by the state public.
By the
Right.
state. Well, our public hearing was in September, and the state approved it, I think, in December.
Late December.
Yeah,
early.
they had their meeting, et cetera, yeah.
Right.
I don't know if I saw the final document, and I told Joyce to send it to me. But the thing that I remember the most about that is that the Board of Control had to have many meetings, and the meetings was a result of different resolutions, recommendations that we had to approve, adopt, had to send to the TCI that we objected this and this and that. We did have counsel in Washington D.C. And this was very time-consuming, and it required so much effort running back and forth, getting to the boards. But the problem with getting those resolutions approved was getting the 3 Board of Control members together. And
It's tough
one
to get
who's
busy
available.
people.
You know, you got a meeting tonight. I mean, we met. I think we met one time on New Year's Eve, December 31st.
Yes, I
forgot.
remember.
I couldn't believe, but we had to do it. We had no choice.
A highlight or a low light of
That's
this
right.
of your tenure
And,
was that
we-
New
we-
Year's Eve meeting, right?
We've had some meetings, but the point, these were dedicated individuals, and the main thing is that we wanted to continue to pursue with TCR and negotiations, try to do what we get what was best for the community, and you'll agree that what we finally got was really good for the community. It was not more than we expected, but it was a lot more than they were willing to give the negotiating committee. And I think that, it serves the community well.
Yes, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. The environment, or I should say, I talk about the legal business of cable television, got much more complicated in the last 5 years or so than
Right.
it was back in the early days
Right.
of cable television. So with the rewrite of the Cable Act and other federal legislation, and then some state changes in their legislation, that made it much more complicated, and that's one reason why that counsel from Washington was kind of invaluable to our
Well,
municipalities.
that's very important. We could not have done it without Joe Van Eaton. That's important to. I mean, we didn't have the expertise in house. We didn't have the attorney to do it, and he was very helpful. He's done very well in other areas of the United States, and no, he was a plus. His resolutions were great too.
Yes, yes. And you probably know many of them by heart, don't you?
No.
Go back to the early days and this notion that we should establish a third-party, not-for-profit corporation to run the public access channels. Now, we originally received, what was it, channels 35 and 36
Yeah,
from
correct.
UA Columbia.
That's right.
What was your first impression when you heard that some people on the advisory committee were urging this formation of this third-party nonprofit?
I wasn't opposed to it. I thought it would be good for the community, because the thing is that the local news is no longer available in your local newspapers unless you get the Soundview News. Okay, there isn't. So what other avenue do you have that you can get it? And hope that was one of my considerations. Not only what's going on in the community, what's going on with municipalities, what's going on with the school. A lot of people don't know that because you don't find that in your local paper anymore. So I looked at that down the road in the future that it would serve the community, and I think it has served the community.
So would you consider the development of LMC-TV one of the highlights of your tenure?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt, right.
And
Very, very, very good people there.
Yes.
People that helped me, through thick and thin.
And have you been careful to watch their growth over those years, the 15 years?
What do you mean?
Well, from the initial incorporation
Oh, yes,
to
sure.
where they are today,
Yes, yeah.
with some difficult roads just
Oh, yes,
past
well,
months.
the difficult roads were, especially the last 7 or 8 years. The money,
Yeah.
the problem of the money, we weren't, that was one of the biggest things as far as the franchise agreement. We were looking to get the most, because it wasn't that we wanted to put it in our pockets, we wanted to enhance LMC-TV. So it worked out very well.
So you believe that LMC-TV is in good hands now and for the future, that it's
Definitely.
adequately
Yeah.
set up and funded? And the Board of Control's feeling about LMC-TV?
Yeah, I think they feel the same way, yeah. I think so.
Good. You had experience, especially as we were negotiating this new franchise, to talk with your counterparts in Scarsdale and White Plains and Bronxville and other places. Did you come away with an impression of how we compare with those other communities, many of which do not have an organization like LMC, and most of which take a lot of the franchise fee money and put it into the general fund, where it sort of gets diffused away from any kind of community
Better expression, they
communications?
put it down south. If you go back,
I never heard that
If you go
expression.
back in history, Mike, we try to get a task force going. That task force was to get other communities involved. We had a meeting here, if
Now,
I
you're
recall.
talking like about 1985.
No, no, no. I'm talking about since 1990.
Okay.
We did. If you maybe you must have attended some.
I remember
we went
that part,
Scarsdale,
yeah.
one in White Plains. We could never get it off the ground, and the reason for that was, as you had just said, no other community had what we had. You know, they
Yeah.
took the money and put it in their general fund, and that was it.
Right.
So that never materialized.
Did any of them say to you, what is with Mamaroneck? Why
No,
are you taking all
they
this
never
money
did.
and
No,
putting it
no,
toward cable?
No. I had conversations with people, but I couldn't get them to move.
Did they look at us as an example of what they should be doing?
No, they never questioned me on that.
No.
But I
think
mean,
that-
they didn't have what we had, Mike.
Yeah,
You know.
but they weren't looking to build it.
No, definitely not. No.
I think probably in the last several weeks, I think a lot of that's changed. I think as a result of these new franchises that are coming in now, the refranchises. I know New Rochelle, for instance, is particularly interested in finding a local access site for
Well,
their citizens.
But in the past, they used the TCI studio, correct? They didn't
Yes.
have their own studio.
Right.
But when they got the $500,000, they put that in their general fund.
Yeah.
And Charlie Strom now, who's the deputy city manager, if you remember him, he was head of their cable TV programming in New Rochelle back in time.
Yeah. Was TCI's move from New Rochelle to Mamaroneck a plus for our communities?
Oh, for us, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, it was two pluses. We had Ira, who lived in the community, because he was always very helpful when he was, in New Rochelle. But it made it easier, say from my end. We're able to run there, was able to come and see me. So, no, it worked out very well. It's a plus for the community.
Good. I also remember in conversation with Frank when we were talking about this show, and by the way, he regrets that he had to be in New York City tonight and couldn't join us for this conversation because he wanted to. He said he thought that you were probably the only one on the Board of Control Advisory Committee kind of family that never missed a meeting. Never missed one meeting. And how many meetings were there? Did you ever keep track?
No. There were tons of me. Well, that was the same thing when I was village manager. Never missed a meeting.
Yeah.
Never missed.
That's quite a record.
Yeah.
That's quite a record. And it actually goes back to my comment to you before about our feeling as advisors that you were always there, that you kind of anchored this whole operation, and we knew that you knew where things were and what had to happen next and what had to happen after that.
That's correct. Well, my feeling that unless there was an emergency that I could make, but my feeling was that I was working for the Board of Control,
Yeah.
okay? And it was important that I be there because these people weren't in on a day-to-day operation as I was. So, they were very good to me, and I tried to help as much as I could.
Well, you may have been working for the Board of Control in an official capacity, but I can tell you that unofficially there are many who consider you a key player in the whole development of local television in our community.
It's very nice to hear that, Mike.
What do you think is the future for LMC in our communities?
I would really like to see it really grow,
Uh-huh.
get bigger, and really outshine other TVs or other TV programs and say where everybody's going to say we're just going to watch LMC-TV.
Uh-huh.
That's down the road. It's going to take time, but I think the news end, what goes on in the community, that's the thing that has to be pushed by LMC-TV now. Whether it's school, whether it's municipal government, the public, or whatever, you be there, and in order to do that, you have to have the funds, and that's one of the things the Board of Control was concerned about.
Yeah.
To bring the money in. I was hoping we would get more money. Me, I'm always looking to get more money.
Right.
More upfront money would have taken care of a lot of financial not problems we had, but a lot of the costs that we had initially. The attorney, the engineer. Mike, and I don't even remember the engineer's name. That study that was done back then.
From the Cable Television Information Center. But his name, I don't know. Joe Windish would know that
Yeah,
name, I'm sure.
yeah.
But in addition to the money, we also need the volunteers.
Oh,
And the energy.
Of course.
The
Sure,
energy of people
sure.
like you. Are you going to be involved personally?
Well, probably to some degree, I probably will.
Because I could see kind of a crossfire kind of show
Yeah.
that
The
you
thing
could
is
host.
that you mentioned volunteers. That was always my one of my key points working for government, is that I attended a lot of other meetings, or other boards and commissions, and I've always said that if we didn't have these volunteers, we would never exist. Volunteers are very, very important.
Well, I'm glad you said that. You've always been straight with me, but I got to confess something. I haven't been 100% straight with you.
I know, Mike.
You do know that?
I know, Mike.
Well, there's one instance.
I hope you allow me to say that, because I'm older.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
one instance in particular, which happens to be tonight.
Okay.
Because we got you down here to reminisce a little, go down memory lane, but we also had you here for another reason.
No, you're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. The noise out in the hall is about to move into the studio, and if you wouldn't mind, Joseph P. Fraioli, could you take a walk with me to the other end of the studio?
Sure.
I get up at the what end? Oh, right here?
Right here.
Oh, right. Right here?
Yeah, look what we have.
Where?
Right here.
Right here?
We
Okay.
have, please, Joe. Joe, come right here,
Right here?
please. Joe Windish, the Executive Director of LMC-TV, putting the chair in position. And Paul Ryan, representing the Larchmont Mamaroneck Cable TV Board of Control,
Oh, no.
here to make a presentation.
No.
Was this a total shock to you?
Yeah.
Good. We were hoping that it would be. I'm glad I didn't flub it.
Thanks, Mike. I was concerned when I got here, you weren't here.
That's
I
part of the
understand, but I said,
plan.
you know,
Part
that
of the
was it.
plan.
Sure, certainly.
Hi,
Hey,
Joe.
Paul, how you been?
All right.
Huh?
Long time no see.
Oh, your hands are cold.
Hey. Joe, it's been an experience dealing with you the last 16 years. Actually, I guess I've known you for about 20 years, with everything that went on in the village, and late nights with Coastal Zone, and sitting in the diner. And then
Kathy here too?
No, Kathy's not here.
Shucks.
But it's been a wonderful time. And during my tenure and whatever I've done in government, I've looked to you for advice. And I've looked to your wealth of knowledge. And we're going to miss it very much. You've stuck with us through thick and thin. LMC couldn't have reached the heights that it's at today without your assistance and your help and going
Appreciate
through,
that very much.
what was it, 3 negotiations, Joe?
Yeah. Does renegotiate? You mean the last?
Well, the original contract
Well,
that
I
was
wasn't
drawn
involved
up.
in the original. That was handed to me after Armin retired. It was 1986 when we had the amended agreement, and then, this last negotiations could be 10 negotiations,
Yes.
you know. That's started, as I mentioned to Mike earlier, the committee started in March or April 1991. Started to put a draft agreement together. They worked about a year and a half, 2 years, so it's been a long haul. You know what we've gone through the last 3 years.
Well, anyway, Joe, we have a plaque from the LMC-TV Board of Directors and the Larchmont Mamaroneck Cable TV Board of Control that we'd like to present to you. We wish it were a Publishers Clearinghouse check for $1 million, because that's...
Well, I was wondering, maybe he didn't come over the house. Maybe is he coming in?
But that's what your advice has been worth to us in your work. And it says,
appreciate it.
presented to Joseph P. Fraioli in grateful appreciation for 16 years of faithful dedication and exemplary attention to details as administrator of the Larchmont Mamaroneck Cable TV Board of Control. The communities of the village of Mamaroneck, the town of Mamaroneck, and the village of Larchmont hereby acknowledge his accomplishments in helping the municipalities achieve such a high degree of excellence in the field of community access television, and further acknowledge that without his efforts, LMC-TV and the quality of life of the citizens it serves would not be so enriched. Presented on this 29th day of January 1997 from the LMC-TV Board of Directors and the Cable TV Board of Control.
Well,
Thank you,
very
Joe.
much. Thank you. Now, I hope that Tony still keeps my picture on your dresser drawer.
She does, and the dart holes, I mean, you know,
That's I figured it out. Huh? Good. Thank you very much.
thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe, you better put that down because I think there's more coming. Joe
Is that
Lanza,
what the chair is for?
the mayor of the village of Mamaroneck, and Walter Rogers, deputy mayor and trustee in the village of Mamaroneck.
Don't forget, this is my good side.
Turn this way here, Joe.
Ken's over there. Oh, it is.
good.
Look at that.
First of all, Joe, I'd like to
Don't
congratulate
kiss me,
you
please, huh?
I wouldn't kiss you on television, Joe, you know. You know that. I want to thank you for everything that you've done, not only for cable TV, but for the village of Mamaroneck. Joe has been a tireless worker for many, many years. You know, Joe probably put more hours into the village in 15 years. I think it was 15 years, Joe? 15, how many?
20 years.
20 years in the village than some of the workers who've been there for 40 years. He was always working late nights, early in the morning. He was very diligent, and that's the way he was on the cable board also. So in recognition of all the work that you've done, Joe, to enhance our community, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to wish you good luck. And I'm not going to stand up here and read the same proclamation that Paul had. But I'd like to wish you good luck on behalf of the whole community
Thank
of
you
the
very
village of
much.
Mamaroneck.
Thank you,
Hey,
I
Joe.
really appreciate it, thank you.
You giving it to me, sir?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know
thank
where to
you.
put it.
Just,
Well, I'll hold it for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Joe, I want to wish you the best of
Long
luck.
haul.
It has been, and we've known each other a good number of years. I came on the village board just before you retired from the village
Right.
board. You always did a great job. You always had the community placed first in anything that you did. I always respected you, and I firmly believe that we would have not reached the contract with TCI had it not been for you and Ken Biella, who helped in the very end negotiate the contract. And Joe, Godspeed. I know when you left the village gave you an old jalopy of a car, and I don't know. I came here tonight feeling that you were going to get maybe perhaps a station wagon or something. I guess not. I'm not hearing that. Joe, God bless you.
Thank you very much, Well, it's been a
Great
pleasure,
moment.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now from the village of Larchmont, Ken Bialo and Judy O'Gorman. There may be a car coming now.
Oh, come on. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Oh, my drill,
Congratulations.
my drill instructor is
I
here.
knew you were going to say that. I knew he was going to say that. Come on over here. Get in the picture. Joe, I've only known you 6 years, and there were some exciting times in there. Certainly, we used to walk around the block often enough, smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, trying to figure out what we were going to do with TCI and the rest of this mess. And I'm sure that I speak on behalf of all of the members of Board of Control, and I'm a former member of the Board of Control, in saying that it would have been an impossible task without you, and your contribution was valued. Your judgment, advice, and your historical perspective, having gone back 10, 12 years, was valued to the point where, as you know, we didn't do very much without you, and couldn't have set it on course and made it go through without you, so we do appreciate it. And I say that on behalf of not only all the
appreciate it
members of
very
the
much,
board,
Ken.
but all the members of the municipalities, all the subscribers to the cable service, and all the viewers of LMC-TV. Judy, you got some comments before we read the proclamation?
Well,
Judy's a new member.
I am a new member of the Board of Control, having gotten there via the Board of LMC-TV, which was my very first community involvement. And at my very first board meeting, Joe Fraioli and Carmine DeLuca came in, and we were supposed to be scared of you guys, and boy, were we ever. And on our best behavior, because you held our purse strings. So it's been an interesting circle from LMC to Board of Control, and I certainly learned a lot from you, and have a lot of attitude about how I have to behave on the Board of Control now.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Anyway, Joe, this is a proclamation that comes from Cheryl. Unlike the town and the village proclamation, it's not signed by everybody, it's only signed by our mayor. But let me read it to you, because I think it expresses our sentiments. Whereas Joseph P. Fraioli has given energetic and dedicated service to the residents of the village of Larchmont as the village's treasurer, and whereas Joe has served the residents of the village and of the town and village of Mamaroneck with energy and dedication as the administrator of the Larchmont Mamaroneck Tri-Municipal Cable Television Board of Control, and whereas in all his service Joe has met the highest standards in seeking to achieve the public good, and has done so with such manifest common sense, fairness, integrity, that he has won the admiration and affection of all for whom and with whom he has served. Now therefore be it resolved that, not I, but Cheryl Louie, Mayor of the Village of Larchmont, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the village, present the proclamation to Joseph P. Fraioli for his professionalism and extraordinary service to our community. Once again, Joseph,
Thank you very much.
congratulations.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for all the help.
Really
It was
is.
fun.
I'm gonna miss you.
I'm going to miss you too.
We're going to be lost without you.
Joe, you're going to have to hold on to that for one more moment. Valerie O'Keefe is here from the town of Mamaroneck. Valerie? Excuse me.
Joe, I'm delighted to be here, and I want to congratulate you and
Thank
thank
you very
you
much, Valerie.
on behalf of the town for all the good work you've done, not only in the cable TV business, but in the village of Mamaroneck.
Thank you.
I remember as a 20 or 30 years ago, that's when I think I started to notice your name in the old Daily Times. How long
That was
ago?
Old Man Forbes.
Yeah, it was, that was. Go way back, but and I said to, which Fraioli is that? Because I knew my mother and father knew all kinds of Fraiolis, and you came to my attention. And once my cable television didn't work, and I said, you should call Joe Fraioli, and my heart kind of pattered because I was kind of scared to call you up. But you helped me. That was just as they were stringing them on the pole. But I'd like to say, on behalf of the town of Mamaroneck, I'd just like to read the operative paragraph in our resolution. Whereas Joe's ability, his loyalty to the best interest in the town of Mamaroneck, village of Mamaroneck, and the village of Larchmont, his respect for the opinion of others, his kindness and tact have won for him the respect, admiration, and affection of his colleagues, his broad-mindedness, integrity, and desire for fair dealing have created for him an outstanding position in the hearts and minds of all who have come in contact with him. We now resolve, Elaine Price, supervisor, and all the members of the board, we present this proclamation to Joe Fraioli for his professionalism and extraordinary service to the community. And I know by reputation, when I talk to Walter or to Ken, and especially to Paul, when he reports on the negotiations in the cable TV, every single thing I read in there is true. All the
appreciate that.
elected
Thank you very
officials hold you in the highest esteem, and it's my pleasure to present this to you.
Thank you very much.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we've been talking about LMC-TV all night, and now it's my privilege to bring up Joe Windisch, who's the executive director of LMC-TV. Joe? Two Joes.
I have no plaque, Joe,
That's okay. That's okay. I have
but
no
I
more.
thought you
I don't have
couldn't
any room
carry
left in the
anymore,
office.
right? I think of you as the cable archivist here. Anytime there was a document, and I tend to think that I can find all kinds of documents. Anytime there was a document I needed, you knew exactly where to find it. But you also were very good at, in 1987, wasn't there, and you would go, oh yeah, I remember that. I think the next day I would have it faxed to me. I want to appreciate that. All the work that you put in as the Board of Control and the negotiating committee all those times, and the personal support you've been to me and to LMC-TV, I want to say thank you. But the official thank you from LMC-TV is that from this year forward, our annual award that we give out for the Volunteer of the Year has been renamed by the Board of Directors the Joseph P. Fraioli Volunteer of the Year Award.
Yeah.
You changed it?
We changed the name. So I want to say thank you very much, and I want to give you some.
I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah.
It's been a.
So I'm going to let you take the microphone.
Let
and
me
I'm gonna
take the
sit out here.
microphone now.
Yeah.
Then we have some food, and I also have regards from Frank, who couldn't get here,
Right.
and Marianne Sullivan, who will be here but not on camera.
Great. Very
So,
good. All right,
thank
so
you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you.
Joe, would you like to take the podium, and do you
Well,
have
I
a
don't
word or two?
I don't have any choice.
Parting shot, perhaps.
Is this being taped? It's gonna, well, it's going to be on camera. I'll tell you what. I do want to thank one person in particular before I forget. That's Mr. Rodriguez at Tony's Nursery. Excuse me. He allowed me and gave me the time to still keep involved with the cable franchise. And the good Lord must have said, you know, going to get Joe to work at Tony's Nursery, because that worked out very well. I was able to distribute papers, run up to Carmine in the village with Eileen, and then Carmine would run it over to the town of Mamaroneck, and I would take care of the village of Mamaroneck. But Mr. Rodriguez was very, very helpful to me to allow me the time to do this. There are a lot of people you have to thank, and without mentioning names, all the clerks, the secretaries, and the three communities who probably in the last 2 years shuddered every time I walked in. It seemed like every other month we had another resolution, recommendations. It never ceased, but we got through it all. There were times there, I think, that I wanted to do the motion before I even handed out the resolution. But I think we arrived at a point where we got a very good package for the three communities. We owe a debt of gratitude to Ken Bialo. He put a tremendous amount of time and effort of his own time. I'm sorry that he will no longer be a member of the Board of Control because he was very, very helpful. Of course, Paul and Walter also were helpful because I know that Ken batted around with them. I remember the tons of conference calls, and sometimes I used to sit there and wondering what was going on, but it was all for the best. And of course, LMC-TV, you've always been very nice to me. And my wife says now, as I mentioned to Mike earlier, what am I going to do with all those boxes of cable notes I have? These are extra copies that I have, the original documents or whatever at the Village Hall. Well, I may keep them for a while. As I mentioned to Mike, I also have volunteered for Yes for almost 20 years. I do their books. They got an old file cabinet. And I'm involved in Rotary, and I do the secretary, the bulletin edit, and I do their books also. That's another cabinet. And but I've enjoyed it. It's been tremendous 16 years to see the growth of LMC-TV, to see the involvement of the community, and I hope that in the future, and I hope to continue to stay around here, that LMC-TV will grow. Get out more into the community, and we'll be able to financially do things that they've wanted to do in the past. I want to thank all past Board of Control members, advisory committee members, and I'm happy that Mary Ann's going to show up. Mary Ann was helpful to me. It was all new to her at the beginning, but she was very, very helpful to me, as along with Frank Light and Mike from now and then. Once in a while, Mike. But I always knew where Mike was coming from because he was with the school, and I just said, geez, he's wearing two hats now. Where is he sitting? But they all had the interest of the community at heart. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you people for being here tonight. I really didn't expect this. It was not necessary because whatever I did because I wanted to do it. I enjoyed doing it. I met a lot of wonderful people and dedicated people, and of course volunteers as we have here tonight. So I want to thank all of you very much.
Joe, just stay here for 1 second. I just want to thank you for participating in this our little half-hour look down Cable's memory lane, and maybe we can do it again with all of your perspective. And I hope your energy keeps you here for a long time. And I wasn't kidding about that Crossfire type show. Yeah, I think you do a heck of a job. And I want to thank the folks who are watching at home. And please join and give Joe Fraioli another round of applause, and then we'll adjourn for some refreshments. Thank you, and congratulations, Joe Fraioli.
Was the first part taped?
Good night.